So that's why the two. That's why I thought it was wrong.
Breathe in, I calm my body. I breathe out, I smile. Dwelling in the present moment, I know this is a wonderful moment. So thank you for coming back this evening. So we're going to continue with our program from the afternoon. And but this time we're going to include the teachers and certainly questions, Q&As with Thay. So anyone who has anything that you would like to ask Thay, please feel free to voice your questions and share. But before that, I'd like to, in case I forget to do it later, I'd like to remind you that tomorrow, after breakfast, we have 1 hour to clean the rooms. We put the sheets in the pillowcase, but we leave the quilts and the blankets folded on the bed. Please take out your garbage and put it on the side, on the side next to the door. Am I forgetting anything?
The towels.
May?
Towels go with the sheets.
Oh, the towels and sheets go together.
And the book on the desk should have everything in there.
We leave our suitcase in the room or?
No, you could bring it down, or you could leave it, I think, if you are leaving early enough right after lunch or when we finish the ceremonies, then you could bring it down.
Also to consider Donna for the people to get care.
Thank you. So yeah, that's a good time to leave Donna there in the room. And please remember that there's also the envelopes and the cards for our monastics and our chef. We hope that your generosity is extended wide and deep into the pockets.
Maybe we turn on the light.
Can you turn on the light?
I don't know if I can turn on.
Let's flip all those three switches off.
Yeah.
There you go.
Whoa,
And Clyde said, let there be light.
So Jeff and Richard,
Yes.
take it on.
Okay. So, so just to say a little, so just one clarification, you said we can ask Thay, we can also ask the other monastics and senior teachers such as yourself.
No, such as those wonderful people sitting there.
Okay. So we'll leave it up to students who they should ask, but it, certainly to ask Thay, if, for instance, if there's a particular difficulty with your practice, some challenge, because if you are having a challenge, maybe other people are having it, it can be a good thing to ask, or if there's something in one of the teachings perhaps that is just kind of been bothering you that doesn't seem to align or something, you can ask questions about those. We can you can address it either, dear Thay or dear Thay and teachers. So perhaps I can start out. So, dear Thay.
New hot seat.
Yeah. Kind of behind, so I'll stand up while I ask him and sit down. Oh, and I just wonder, sometimes I know if there's a question, then in like Blue Cliff Monastery, they do like 3 sounds of the bell to give the person a few seconds to think before. Do we want to do that?
Okay, so.
Do we want to ask a question about the recording? Because right now we are recording.
Oh, okay,
Oh, yes.
please.
So,
Should I turn it off?
No,
Okay.
no, I think it's, but maybe just a reminder, just first names. So I'm Jeff, and my question for you, Thay, is.
let Craig ask the question, please. Want to be sure that everyone's okay with the recording.
Sure.
Well, so the Dharma sharing this afternoon, we did not record. Last night we did record. So right now we are recording also. So I can either not do it, turn it off for now, turn it on later. selectively edit after the fact if there's something sensitive that accidentally comes out.
Think should I talk more about my son loudly?
Okay.
Okay, are people okay? Okay, so do you want me to strike the bell 3 times now?
Well, I haven't asked my question.
Oh, okay. After you ask the question, okay.
To ask the question. So, it's been kind of a difficult time in society. And in the country, the last couple of months, there's been so much going on. And, you know, there's been kind of obvious harm to certain groups from, some of the things happening, in the country. And some of us are active in protests or other things, and it's easy to get either mad or maybe despair over so many things and quite a few negative things going on that harm people. So I'm just wondering what can we do to help kind of maintain our stability, you know, in life in general and when we sit. And these things are, you know, frustrating and upsetting. So, thank you.
Yeah, this question is very politic. And I think the politic is sometimes up, sometimes down. When it go down and then it go up again. So just wait and see. Don't worry about that. It happened to everybody, not just only us. So in the Chinese philosophy, when the thing go to extreme, it will be changed. So it's just like you know the yin and yang. Inside you see when it go to extreme and then it start the other side start to grow. So yeah, it will happen. I forgot the Western philosophy, the things that when the situation is go extreme, and then it develops the opposite side. And in the society, it change, it continue changing like that. And everything has the cause and the effect. We not directly or indirectly we contribute to that cause. And now it's the effect. And I think that is we have to bear it maximum 2 years. And then it will be over.
Greg Valiant, we have 2 visitors.
We too?
Yeah, Jen and Bobby are here.
Oh.
Should I put them on the screen?
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah.
Thank you. That's nice.
Yeah.
Can you guys hear us? Can we hear you?
They're muted.
Oh.
They're muted.
Can they unmute themselves?
You want to unmute just in case you have something important to say?
There, Jenna muted herself.
Hi.
We can hear you.
Now she froze. You froze, Jen.
Oh, well. Well,
Okay.
she'll either come back or.
So sorry for not seeing you guys in the waiting room before. computer's over there. We couldn't really hear it.
So when Fernando picked me up from the airport on the way here, I said to him that yeah, we should buy the stock when they go down. And now we earn a lot of money.
And we can build a big temple.
Yeah. Example.
Oh.
So are there any other questions?
Less politic, more personal. One of our in the Bodhisattva vows, we're supposed to combat greed, hatred, ignorance. And I know that's more out there, but I tend to have a lot of it in here sometimes. Is there any, other than recognizing it and trying to let it go, is there some way we can fight it?
Yeah, we cannot ignore it.
Yeah.
It's involved in every of us. And now what we do, if we're angry, we make a lot of problem, violently demonstrate against it, it won't happen. The best way to use a vote.
Yeah, it's just, no, I'm not trying to be the political, it's just, it makes it very frustrating when when you're like, oh. And it leaves that sense of helplessness. And it's not even it's not having, not the political stuff, but it's an internal thing. And I guess for me it's I guess it's not living in the moment, I guess. Is that what it is?
Yeah, of course, when the thing happened, not only you, but everybody had the feeling, some strong feeling, and then try to control that feeling, and then try the way to solve it. Yeah. But if now we sit with a lot of bad feeling, it won't happen. It hurt us more than help. And if we believe in the democracy, then the vote is very important. If the next election we can change the situation. And from now to there, it takes only 2 years, not longer.
Is it okay if I make a comment about that?
Yes.
So I don't have anything profound to say, but we all have these feelings. I mean, we have them. I was beginning to have some today, and luckily I had a friend to talk to, and he was able to help me transform those into something a little bit more useful. But those old tricks that seem to me the best. So you're aware of your feeling, obviously, but then that's not enough. You've got to investigate it. What is causing that? Just like the Buddha does for us, And when you look deeply at it, you find out what the cause is, then you can start to find a remedy for yourself. But it's just like the Four Noble Truths on a tiny little level, within each and every one of us. And it's not easy, but that's what works for me. Yeah. And then the usual, I mean, you have to have a solid practice, of course. But yeah, that's my 2 cents worth.
May I add on to that? So that's stage counsel, but that doesn't preclude skillful means afterwards. You know, once you know what's going on. So, you know, it is the will be decided at the election, but you can do your darndest to affect other people's vote in the election, you know,
Of course.
influence them and
Yeah, but with a peaceful means,
Right.
try to awaken the other. And we should think that is the person who creates that problem, they suffer also. They suffer a lot, yes, in terms of money.
Yeah.
I think also it's like sometimes it's in the feeling portion of it, the feelings that arise from this, I know you probably did. There's nothing we can do about that. Feelings just come. We don't get to choose them or whatever, right? They just come. And I feel that, you know, it's like when the feeling arises, sometimes it can move right through you because the causes and conditions are not sticking you in that spot, right? But sometimes when things are so large and so overwhelming and so unmoored and so uncertain, it's like they get stuck sort of because the construct around it, which is something that we can do something about. We can't do something about the feeling because the feeling's gonna come, but the construct around that feeling is what we're, you know, like when I'm angry, what do I do, think, and feel when I'm, or if I feel, you know what I mean, when I'm stuck in my own ego, what do I do, think, and feel, you know, like what happens to me? And I know you know a lot of this, and sometimes it's that feeling of like, you know, sometimes we sit with it and we take our time, and at other times, you know, we have to actively start to check ourselves, you know, like how do I, if my natural reaction is to be violent or to be rageful or to act out on others, then there's the practice, right? Yeah.
What if that anger is about a larger injustice being done that's harming innocent people? So it's not individual anger, but it's anger at a bigger.
It's when we are angry, right? The anger comes up, right? The construct then within you may be to do something. When I'm angry, I do something, and when I do so it's not that you don't do something. There could be very skillful means in that, where you are very practiced, and, you know, you choose things that are very helpful for other people. But where the problem lies is when when the construct is destructive to self or to others, right? So it's always a deeper understanding of what is the construct, you know, like if it's something that's helpful and useful, yeah. And sometimes we do things that are helpful and useful, and we still need skillful means because they're not actually what's helpful or useful, but they're what we want to do to get rid of that feeling. So it's a lot of work all the time, never ends.
If I may add, ditto to everything that's been said, actually, and as a reminder, what I saying in 2 weeks. I mean, sorry.
2 years. Only
That's
your
a
dreams.
golden slip. Yes, 2 weeks will be over. In 2 years, we will hopefully have a change, which is the beautiful side of impermanence, right? That this can't last forever either. I would like to add that yes, skillful means recognizing, transforming, all of that is part of our practice. And let us not forget that samsara is the flip side of nirvana. What does that mean? It means that we should, at the same time that we are struggling for social justice, that we are protesting, that we are voting, that we are volunteering, that we are donating, we should also be cultivating our own happiness and happiness of others. We should never forget that. And whatever that means to you, I know what it means for me to cultivate my happiness, and I have to do it on a daily basis in order to survive out there and in here.
Also, Elena Boni, you know what Tay just said about, when things go to extreme, then the opposite grows and comes and brings balance. And I think what's going on right now is a tremendous growing of the opposite forces that are trying to balance the crazy, chaotic extreme that we're living right now. So, if we have faith in the law of cause and effect and yin and yang, we know that things are gonna come back to balance, but it's not gonna come back to balance on its own. We need to let that opposition grow in a positive way, a positive opposition that, maybe positive is not the right word, but it's not
in a peaceful
in a
way.
peaceful way. So it's not violent, it's not destructive. It is constructive of a society that will oppose the chaos. And I feel anguish every morning. I open my computer and the first thing that comes is the news. The headlines of whatever is going on, what the crazy guy did, what the other crazy person did, what they're going to take away, what they're going to destroy. And I feel it. I feel it. And then I start to think, okay, do I need to read this? And if I read it, am I going to change anything by reading it? Am I going to have an effect on what's going on? Maybe I should not. Maybe I don't need to read it. I just need to be informed so that I can join whenever I am able, whenever I have the opportunity to join the budding opposition.
Yeah, something else to add to that. If you think about it, there's so many things in life that we can be angry about. How many kids are dying every day in the world from hunger? Not having clear water. How many people are getting killed in the Ukraine? How about what's happened in the Middle East? You could essentially suffer all day thinking about that. So what I take is that there's only so much that I can do, but I want to be whatever I can in my neighborhood, in my family, in the people I come in contact with, to be a reflection of what I think the compassion that and loving kindness that the Buddha has taught us, or whatever the tradition you belong to, and that's all I can do is create a little ripple, and that's has to be enough for me, because I can't suffer for the whole world. Otherwise, I go crazy every day just crying for everything that goes wrong in the world. So that my action is what I can do within my own reach, and trying to create an atmosphere of love and companionship, and hoping that carries on to others.
Man,
Yeah.
Happily I'm bowing in. I just was sitting here thinking about how privileged I am. I'm not in a marginalized community. I don't have any money in the bank, but I have a place to live. I have people who love me, a community that supports me. I've got all these things. My child is straight, attractive, and gainfully employed and happily married to another white, straight guy. I have nothing to worry about. And yes, the pain of the whole world, that's I understand. But what about when it's your child? That's a whole nother level. What if it's your child being shot dead in the street? What if it's your child, who's transgender and afraid to leave the house? That, all that, what everybody said is right. And what you said right there, I try to live, or otherwise you go crazy. But boy, when it's your child, your family, your loved one being blown to bits over there, that puts things on a whole nother level that makes it more difficult. More difficult. It's not so easy. We say it's not easy. work. So we don't have this.
Of course, there are a lot of problem. A lot of the bad thing happen in the world every day. But we should do something. But the way we do is peaceful, not violent.
Right.
Yeah, we will not harm anyone. Not on the name of the one people and then try to destroy the other people. That is not the right way. That is not the right way. So of course, we have to do something, but should be peaceful and to try to solve the problem in the best way that we can. Yeah.
Yes.
Being bowing in, just to add personal practices as well. One thing I think about a lot is the greed, hatred, and delusion when it's right here. It's so easy to identify with it. It's there. It feels so real. This is me, kind of thing, and it's very, very much, creates the other. Here's my enemy. The bhava tanha, the desire to get rid of. I know my obstacle, and that's where Thay, I think, is really wisely pointing out, like, why is violence so easy? Because it feels so compelling. The greed, hatred, and delusion are so convincing. It's easy to see it when it's not yours, right? Like, oh yeah, the having greed, hatred, and delusion, but when it's right here. So a little exercise we do a lot is moving just in your mind. If you think of something like, I'm an angry person, and how that feels in your body. If you're identifying like that, I'm an angry person, to feel how that feels in the body, to I'm angry, and you feel that little step already is a little looser. I feel angry, a little looser still, and you keep moving over to this is what anger feels like. And now it's not me and mine, it's just anger. And if you can move that, loosen up a little bit, now you have some room. And then you can, like most venerable Thich Nhat Hanh, his, hold the baby. You can do this with any difficult emotion or overwhelming emotion, whether it's pleasant or unpleasant, but to hold it, so he uses that as a way of getting in touch. You're not turning away from it, but you're holding it with compassion. I always like the image of Kwanteam Bodhisattva riding the dragon across the ocean of suffering, and the difference between being in the water drowning and being with the Bodhisattva skillfully riding, the waves there. But whatever image or metaphor, sometimes that is enough to clarify your intentions. You can then get into that position where now you can ask, how can I respond to this moment with as much wisdom and compassion that is possible for me right now? How can I respond? So little practical questions like that can help move us out of the loss, the fire of that moment. And then I think, so in the moment, those kinds of practices are really important to have in your pocket for when that moment arises. Then overall, doing a lot of work with right intention, right aspiration, and to clarify your intentions and build that into your practice so it's there for you when you need it. So that's why, like, when we do meditation, as you sit down and meditate, begin with getting in touch with your intentions. How do I want to relate to these next moments? And people Dan Kwan would, get probably tired of hearing me. My example, the one that I use is I want to be with these next moments with kindness and curiosity, with openness and gratitude, so that wisdom can arise. And I've used that little phrase for 20 some years, every time I sit to meditate. And it's part of my my mental architecture now. And it's there for me when I need it. So that when those big moments arise and I notice it, I find that coming automatically up for me. May I be with these next moments with kindness and curiosity, with openness and gratitude, so that wisdom can arise. And that is very grounding for me. So I think finding those practical ways that help us, like we began with, recognize it's happening, because usually we recognize it several steps down the road, recognizing it though, but then being able to loosen up, let go, not identify with it, then reconnect with our aspirations, our right intention. That empowers us to, bring that awareness into our decisions. Yeah, be empowered.
Yeah, I said 2 years, but not 2 years next year. Next year already. So you go home and then you tell to your friend, to relative, to everybody. Next year go to vote for the good guy.
I got another one cent. This is not my advice, but it's my advice from my son. Be careful how you take in your information. First thing in the morning, bad idea. Television, bad idea. He says he subscribes to like The Economist and other things, but reliable news source, you get it after the fact, after it's been digested a little bit, and you don't have ulterior motives of the people putting it out to be sensationalized to get views. So just figure out where your source
Good
is.
practical suggestion. That's from your son?
It is.
Good job, Dad.
It was to us. We didn't do that.
That's funny.
Can I add something?
Yeah, sure.
I was telling somebody about this earlier, but something I've started doing is looking up a good news network and looking at least one thing a day that's good, so that's just.
Louisiana has I think, weekly good news that they'll send out to you. If you subscribe, it's free.
American pumpkins, puts out a good news. Campbell's fractions and good news.
Oh, beautiful.
Richard Bannerman. I did something similar. I didn't have all that directed, so I need you to write that down for me.
Tape recorded.
But I got wound up last night and so I went and I thought, oh man, that's got me a lot of anger and I recognized it's that's right from the Bodhisattva vows. And so I'll go read them. And I went, oh, what's the next thing I gotta do in those vows? I gotta go find a gate to go through. But there's plenty of them. So let me go find a gate. And I found a gate. I wrote about what I do and what I'm going to do, and what I need to do. And let me go find this attainment next. And they're endless and it's unattainable, but I can find one of them. And I realized that, yes, all I need to do is be kind and compassionate and do what I need to do to take care of myself and others. And that got that hatred and anger and frustration. So yes, You read the whole thing. Don't read just the first line.
If I may just add, comment on what Jack Fan, shared, which is really beautiful. The Thich Nhat Hanh also teaches us not to have a war inside. It shouldn't be a war or a battle inside.
Yeah.
So we don't want a war inside of us, but we want transformation. We want healing, through insight. And what Jack Fan just shared is a beautiful process in doing that. I also, and I'm gonna quote a Puerto Rican saying, no hay mal porque bien no venga. There's no bad that good doesn't come from.
That's universal Spanish.
I know we say it in Puerto Rico all the time.
Not Puerto Rican.
Well, I grew up Puerto Rican, so I'm not taking credit, but yes. A Spanish saying. And that is impermanence. That is transformation, and that is turning your compost into flowers, turning your compost into fruit.
I also like Pema Chodron because she doesn't hide her anger. She's always talking about how angry she is, and I really relate to her.
Who's that?
Pema Chodron. She's
Oh, Pema, yes.
Yeah. She'd ever see her talking to her granddaughter. She got really frustrated, and she's like, "Stop it." You know, and then she realized, I'm Pema Chodron. And I always love that because it's like, yes, you know. And I always feel like in that same kind of transformative fashion, you know, it's like whatever, it's like they're angry just like me. You know, like they're lonely just like me, they're fearful just like me. Because all of the things that we experience in the world, inside and outside, we have a huge community experience them at that very moment, at the same time. And all of a sudden you can share it. And it's a psychological shift. You know, it doesn't make your sadness go away in that moment, but the point isn't to make the sadness go away. The point is to have a relationship with the sadness. Or anger.
Elena Baunin. And I think it is important to not try to make somebody else understand your point of view or your level of understanding of a situation, because they may not be in that psychological state where they can connect with what you're saying. So if I'm angry or somebody, I'm witnessing somebody very angry and I'm trying to let them, just cuddle your anger and be, peaceful because, this is what Thich Nhat Hanh taught or because Buddha said, people are not going to understand. So we need to respect that space, but instead use our ability or our skillfulness in compassion sharing to send compassion to them so that their anger subsides, so that whatever is making them frustrated, that it comes to an end, that whatever is making them ill, that they heal and that they find peace within themselves. And that works. That is really powerful. And so rather than try to change somebody's mind, let's change ours.
That's also a very good reason to listen to people you don't agree with.
Yeah.
And one
Yes.
more, I'm sorry.
Please, I have a question.
I was just gonna say, one of the beautiful things about that practice too is if you really want to be good, skillful at relating to someone when they're angry or whatever, you get to practice on yourself. And those skills are transferable. So if you practice being skillful, you can do it either way. You could think, how would I be with my friend if they were feeling like this right now? And call forth those same qualities inside yourself. You can also turn it, and say, okay, now that I've practiced with myself, I have these skills to offer others. And it's a beautiful way of bringing that into the world. And there's that Korean Zen practice of tracing back the radiance. That's also quite lovely. And there's a lot to it because it's about the luminosity of the mind. But one of the ways it's applied that I feel like is helpful in this context is you can trace, like if you're feeling angry about injustice, well, there's a skillful seed there that you can trace back to a seed of compassion and wisdom. And really what's under there is may they be safe, may they be happy, may they be free from suffering. If you can trace that experience back to that aspiration, then you have steady ground. That's a place where you can practice. And you don't have to get there by repressing or suppressing or denying or minimizing the suffering or the injustice or your own experience. Instead, it takes all of those things and ushers it back to that wholesome seed.
Dylan? And then you.
Thank you. Dear Thay, dear teachers, I've picked up a lot of wisdom in this, but I've also had a hard time listening and absorbing some of it because I'm aware that impermanence sometimes means things go in a cycle, but sometimes it means things just go away. And I am acutely aware that in my lifetime, a huge amount, the world has changed in a way that it will never go back. 70% of the wildlife that existed when I was born is gone. The planet is warming. Our political situation might circle back, but they're also making changes that mean that maybe it won't. So there may come a time, and I think this time comes to every country or empire eventually, when it ends. So how do we practice with that? With something that goes away and is not coming back, or that we see it disappearing and we don't know if it will come back.
Yeah, in Buddhism we do not encourage revolution, but we encourage evolution. For example, with climate change, then we encourage the people to separate the garbage. Do not burn too much plastic thing, so that will pollute.
Let them in.
To pollute the air. So if one person is not much effect, but many people do that, it will have an effect on the nature. Yeah, some other thing, but I could not find. Before we throw away everything, we waste a lot of things. But now the people they recycle thing. So that is the beginning of the good thing. And if we continue to do that, then certainly it's one day we see the great results from that. But with two hands, of course, we cannot shape the whole world. Only we try first from ourselves, and then the other will follow us, and that will create the good thing.
I think it's very frustrating when we think of the catastrophic effects of things at such grand levels, that where species disappear, where the oceans are polluted, where the whales and sharks are getting entangled in fish nets and disappearing, where the polar bears don't have any ice to step on to go to the next meal. It is extremely frustrating to think about those things and to feel so helpless. And we want to do something. And again, I think the work begins with us. We cannot, like Shantideva says, it's so much easier to just put leather on your feet as opposed to put a blanket all over the world that you can walk on to protect. No, so it's us. We need to begin with us and our example, the way we live, the way we communicate, the way we see people, and the way we let them know that we care for them. I don't know you, you're my enemy, but I care for you. Because your survival is my survival. When we are able to understand that our survival, our livelihood depend on one another, whether you live in California and I live in Alaska, doesn't matter. Who said the butterfly in the Amazon will impact whatever, France or whatever country in Europe, right?
Putin.
So, it depends really, it comes down to the very core of ourselves, is us. Frustrating over something that we are humanly impossible to have control over. Like, how can we control climate change? We can't. Some people buy a Tesla, right? People are angry at Tesla right now, but they're angry at they use it as a symbol of oppression and whatever because of what's going on. But there is some usefulness to that brand. So learning to separate what is the value of things in the whole continuum of survival of the species, and see where we fit, where I fit individually there. And do that little part, because that's going to help the chain. Elena Varma.
John Mannion, I think some of those problems are typical problem, like Venancio says, that no one individual can handle it. All we can is try to do within our reach. And to me, all what you are saying, you are trying to practice the full rightfulness. You recognize the unwholesome seed and to try to create the condition not to allow that unwholesome seed to grow anymore within our reach. And when you recognize the wholesome seed, try to nourish it to grow within year to year. And that will change. So that's the thing that we can do within our reach and within the practice of we're doing, learning from Buddhism, doing the four rightfulness.
Can I say something?
Sure.
I think too, like being aware that it's not just individual and I know people keep saying within our reach, within our sphere, but part of that can be building movements like that ripple out, make the sphere bigger, because, and I think about like Thich Nhat Hanh and starting the socially engaged Buddhism movement and everything during the Vietnam War and everything. Like that was a horrible time, and that was a very skillful response, and it became something that has spread. Like this, the things that they started during that are things that spread and made a difference. Not everything was easy and comfortable. I mean, Thich Nhat Hanh got exiled from his country, you know, but we're here in the, you know, all of us have been touched by that work, and that's part of why we're here. And so I think that like sometimes we have to like do the work to center ourselves and keep ourselves from falling into despair, but also we can, you know, build the movement so that it is more than just ourselves, and so that it can actually have a bigger impact.
Thank you. Kathleen, I'm going in. I don't know if I can say this right at all, but I'm going to give it a try. I was just thinking, you know, when you were talking, Dylan, you know, what if it goes away forever? Whatever it might be, could be a lot of it's. And so when you're talking about Thich Nhat Hanh right then, Holly too, you know, he, you know, skillfully dealt with situations that were horrible and painful, but he didn't only just, you know, create that, you know, that build that school and create that movement and you know, be a peace activist and spread, you know, all the things that he did in that positive way. He also grieved.
Yes.
He
Yes.
grieved.
Yes.
Yes.
And sometimes, you know, we don't let ourselves grieve for what's lost or gone. And so doing, as we're all saying here, we all do our part the very best we can to make positive change in our little world and the big world. We all have a role in that, but some things we must grieve. And it's okay to do that. And it can be healing to do that. That's all I want to say.
Yes, here, sister. I want to say one thing. And I often say, like, you know, we're always looking at these larger things, but even if you take the constructs that we personally have, like what our habit energies are around, even just anger ourselves, just our own little tiny body, all of the things that we do to avoid, to create, to, you know, connect to, you know, manipulate, all the things that go around with what we do with our own personal anger. Imagine if the rest of our life, we just worked with that, the difference it would make. We're always, you know, it's like, often we'll do something together, like we'll do something about the Metta Sutta or something together, and we'll be teaching sort of loving kindness meditation. And almost every time we're there, somebody will be like, "What about Hitler?" You know, it's like every time, right? And we're always like, "All right, well, Hitler's a PhD level meditation." But if we bring that back, and it's like that our anger and rage with Hitler is like one level, but if just the anger or rage or whatever is in your one little life every single day, if we could work with that transformation, just with that one thing, that is the core of getting rid of war, not just war between human beings, but war against everything. And yet we'd rather not do it. Right? We'd rather keep what we have because we're right, and the way that we do it is right, and blame other people or other kinds of things instead of doing that one teeny little piece of work, which is your whole life.
Yeah. Darn ego.
Or
Big topic.
or the internal war, which we spoke to earlier. I just real quick, what Fatlan shared reminded me of the Zen saying, when you cry till your heart is content, because you will not cry forever. And when you laugh till your heart is content, because you will not laugh forever.
That's how I was thinking, you know, and as a teacher, you know, with teenagers, like you see, there's a lot of change happening. That, because, you know, the news kind of sensationalizes bad things, you know, but
my students from 10 years ago are more aware of their emotions. They care more for each other's emotions. Yes, even things like when I started teaching, I would have to explain what organic meant.
Yeah.
Or sustainable. And today they come into my class knowing that, we all know that. Which is, then that's just a 10-year span. And if you think about it, 100 years ago, blacks and whites couldn't marry. You know, 150 years ago, women didn't have a vote. You know, you could go to jail, be killed if you said you're gay. So I think we are evolving, you know, it's just those things are big ideas. And I think, you know, it takes time. But I think part of, you know, spirituality is being courageous enough to have the faith that we are changing.
He's double yourself.
They're double
Bobby, Bobby. Two Bobbies.
One smiling and the other one is
I think it's when Yashiro left. It
Yes.
replaced the Jid screen with Bobby's. If I may add,
So just Shiro.
I was gonna add one more bit to that too is the Four Noble Truths right there for us are train the mind to work skillfully with impermanence, with how things arise and how things cease. So the tools for training the mind are right here. And you know, when we're ready for it, we can bring as part of grief, as part of processing, we can bring even the largest of our suffering into that practice. I usually recommend
things that we may see as bad, but nature has its path. For example, if the dinosaur age didn't extinct, we could be their meals now.
We wouldn't be as many in the world.
Nature would win then.
I think also, to mention what Elaine was talking about, trying to hold both things, it's like, think about holding grief. You know, you lose a loved one. But do you get stuck in grief? Or do you see still the beauty of the world and see your happiness? And you have to live with both. So,
Thank you for that, Fernando. You know, that reminds me when my mom passed away on the 28th of February, just a few days before the world shut down for the pandemic. And I was so sad that my mom died, but I was so happy that she died before the pandemic. Because we were able to give her a beautiful burial, we were able to be with her and to spend time with her. There was that happiness and that grief at the same time, and it was powerful.
if you think about it, that is life. We're holding both every day.
Yeah.
We're holding both things.
I have a lighter question, but I also, Thich Nhat Hanh says, you know, don't let it enter your heart, because when you let it into your heart, you become sick. And if you become sick, you can't help anyone. So we're not to let it into our hearts. But the question I did have, and it's and then we can go back to this one. I meant to ask you earlier, dear. Most honorable, is that, is there, regarding our home altars, Is there a picture of you available for our home altars? I meant to ask that earlier.
Just like this.
No, a picture of you.
A picture of you
For our
people would
home
want to put on their altar.
Oh. You go into the website, a lot of picture on the Fernando web.
Well, in the, well, we're.
It's in the cloud.
Also, bring out the pictures in our website.
Yes,
Is it a
sure.
headshot?
So I just printed
It's
out.
a headshot.
Is
I
it a
think
headshot or is it just like?
in his biography, I think we have a picture of him.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I love
Okay.
that picture. That's the one I have. Yeah, there, yeah. Where's that one? You have it there?
Yeah, in the
That one.
Maybe I've
This is the
seen
one I
before
have.
being registered.
Yeah.
I love that picture.
Mm.
It's
Okay.
very
cool.
special. Especially after ordination.
Thank you.
Yeah, and you can go into the website and print it out.
Are you gonna charge for those pictures?
That's beautiful.
Yeah, that's,
Oh, can you share that?
it's on
on
it's on our
It's on the
website.
website?
Yeah, yeah. That's. It's on our temple website too. Yeah. It's a good one.
Okay. We're talking about current disasters, whatever's going on right now. In society. And I'd like to ask you what motivated your heart to create this course of Dharma learning for us?
Oh, this course is a long time ago. When I arrived in Connecticut in 1995. So we have a group of the English speaking at the High-End Temple. And then one day some guy asked me that, they want to learn more about Buddhism. Is that possible to organize a class or something like that? I said, yes, let me think. And then I try to find the English books that are available, and we combine and then we use that for the first year. Exactly in 1996. And then the first graduation was year 2000. That was Richard Boxa and Adrian and Richard Zipoli. That is the first group. And then we have the next class. It's and when the Richard Boxa rose the class, they invite me go to Trondheim to give the Dharma talk every month. And after that, we work with the Trondheim for the prison project. That the Trondheim monastery will provide the books, and we provide them for the request the Trondheim monastery to invite me to go to Trondheim. So that's yeah. The beginning from the someone want to learn more Buddhism, and I use a program that I studied in Vietnam when I was in the monasteries there. But here, of course, we don't have every book available in English, so we find the books that are available and try to make the first year and then the second year and the third year. It's not only 3 years. Later, we made it 4 years. And now with the online, with the Zoom, that is a very good that we don't have a many classes in different states.
Yes.
We have set only one class, and every people from everywhere can reach this. And now the many people graduate from the early class, like Fernando, Lynn, and then John and other people. So with a group of people, they work better than one person. So now I don't have to do anything.
You only volunteer people.
People that you. And Fernando.
Well, that's a point of training all these people, right?
Yeah.
So you don't have to do everything.
So we have a lot of our students for this year are from the Plum Village tradition.
Yeah.
And can you?
I was in Plum Village with Mrs. Toy. They went there for retreat. And they saw me there and they requested that they want to invite me to Connecticut. And Tiffany said, ask him. and I said, yes, I'm glad. About 12 years. 12 years.
I have a question. What does a day of the life of the most venerable look like?
So in the morning, we have a morning service. And then during the day, it's I do different kind of things, study or working, and then in the evening we have an evening service.
Who takes care of the chickens?
That was a quick answer.
Yeah. We have one day was some people they brought some chicken to the temple. They release and they want to release the chicken. and we are afraid that the raccoon will eat them. So we have to build the coop for the chicken. And then slowly they lay egg and then they have a group of chick.
That's only because you brought those roosters.
No,
If you leave those hens alone. it'd be okay.
We have both of them, so.
How many chickens do you have?
It's about 60.
Exhausted.
Sometimes people, just now people give us, I don't know who, but maybe the neighborhood, they bring that bird to in our temple. They call the bird, it's beautiful.
Oh, that loud one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The gray one.
Yeah. Looking for a mate constantly. What's that called? Guinea. Yes. The guinea.
They eat the ticks. They eat the ticks.
Well, good. But you would like to have a mate. And all over there.
It's beautiful. So now I try to buy some eggs. So I hope that it will develop some chick for her to take care of. And some Vietnamese they suggest that the chicken made a lot of mess around. So we should give them away. It's a good idea, but we are afraid that the chicken will be food. People will eat them.
You're gonna be homeless again soon.
The congregation.
Yeah, we have a 4-star chicken cook.
Nice chicken, except for that one little rooster.
Yeah.
I have a DTO question.
Yeah.
If I may. They're-
non-chicken.
I mean, the chickens are adorable. I want to go visit now. This is a great story. But I have a question about, in the DTO, there are Dharma teachers and priests.
Yeah,
So what's a priest and what's the difference?
yeah, it's Dharma, the priest is the commitment. Is the person who commit more to share the Dharma, and then with the priest position after 5 years, that person can transmit the 5 precepts, but not the Dharma teacher.
This past February, these two priests transmitted the
Yeah.
the refuges and the precepts to 2 students.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that is great, yeah.
And we have done in the prisons also.
The prisons.
It's very, it's a powerful experience. Have that privilege.
What kind of training or preparation is required for the priest role, and how does it compare to the Dharma teacher training?
Yeah, maybe it would be,
Yeah, so after you get the certificate, then you're eligible if Thay approves, and if you're interested to enter we call it Dharma training class. That is actually being developed by Maeve, Bobby, who's on over there, and myself. And essentially, what we're trying to do is having your first 4 years to get a certificate is like you're feeding your intellect and your mind to learning as much wisdom as you can from the literature and then in the Dharma training years, we're trying to develop your heart and your practice and your service. And so we call the Dharma training years more like a workshop as compared to a class. After you finish, and that can be 2 to 3 years. It depends on how people do and how they keep up with everything that are required. After that, then there is a certain amount, somewhere between 2 to 4 years, before you're considered eligible to become a priest. Now, the training for the priest is a lot of running the class, running classes, even talks, learning to perform ceremonies. What it is, what Thay said is that you're making it more of a commitment of your life to be part of the vehicle, which is the Dharma teacher, or that we are any better than anybody else, but just if you're going to be ordained a priest, you need to think you got to dedicate your time.
The pay is the same.
Yeah. Fringe benefits.
So is the retirement plan.
There's no benefits.
Fringe benefits, maybe we'll get a couple of eggs from the.
yeah, so that is what Tuanjen did in Shepherds. Because it's a Tuanjen monastery, you know that monastery. Yeah, the Chinese tradition, and then in Chinese tradition, the one who can share the Dharma is only the monk and nun, not lay people. Yeah, and now we create a DTO is that is for lay and also for Hmong and so in follows the definition of the Sangha during the time of the Buddha composed of four groups. That is Bhikkhu group, that is a male monastic and female monastic, layman and lay woman. That the four group compose a Sangha. So that the lay people also have can share the Dharma and can transmit 5 precepts. But you later will become monk.
Don't forget to tell your wife.
Thay, did you just say that you felt that Thich Nhat Hanh, if he could, he would have ordained more lay people, but he couldn't do it because of political reasons? Did you think that Thich Nhat Hanh would he have wanted to have lay teachers?
Yeah, in Vietnam he started, but then he could not continue. Later at Plum Village, then he have what is it called?
Society of Interbeing?
Yeah.
Order of
The order of the interbeing, yeah. But not exactly like the DTO, because Ethnicism is based more on the practice than on the study.
So do you think that's one reason why they're so complementary?
Yes.
You know, we have a lot of people here,
Lingo,
and
name, Jew,
Yeah.
so they come to us and
Yeah, so
get a
both
little bit more, yeah.
study and practice.
What were you saying, Dylan? I'm sorry, couldn't hear you.
Oh, there are a lot of lay Dharma teachers.
Yeah.
They did ordain lay Dharma teachers.
Mm.
Later, maybe not in Vietnam, but yeah, later.
Yeah.
He also ordained monastics as
Yeah.
teachers. Of course.
Yeah, also, yeah.
They're not wholly separate paths.
Mm.
Was there a priest?
A priest.
There are no priests.
I didn't think so, but I was.
But the lay Dharma teachers can transmit the 5 mindfulness training. But I don't really understand how you become a Dharma teacher in the order of interbeing now. Except you have to have at least 10 years of practice.
Yeah, this is based more on the practice. But it's probably he don't have the course like
Right.
class that we have. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah. But he based more on the practice.
Yeah.
The people who was ordained become member of the interbeing group, and then how longer you practice, how higher you become.
How much happiness you can cultivate.
Yeah.